On today's episode of Dallas Mavericks Today by Chat Sports, Jeffrey Cooperstein and myself, Harrison Graham, are going to tell you why your Dallas Mavericks are 2024 NBA title contenders. That's right, Coop. This team has the ingredients to potentially win a championship this year.
Man, I think this team is for real, and I'm just so excited for the playoffs to start here. We're putting this video out on Saturday, so there's one game remaining here in the regular season, and I just cannot wait to get this postseason started. I think it could be a long and prosperous run for the Mavericks.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So 4 main reasons why the Mavericks can do it, the ingredients, if you will. Well, I think you have to have 2-star players. It's hard to do what the Mavs did in 2011 with 1 star and a bunch of great role players. Not saying it's impossible, but even if you want to point to Denver last year, the way Jamal Murray played in the playoffs, he averaged like 28 a game. So that's definitely a star player. But with Luka and Kyrie, Coop, and especially how they've played the last 6 or 8 weeks or so, this is kind of what we've been waiting for. This is why the Mavericks made that move to bring in a legitimate 1B, very high-level 2A that Kyrie is. And for these guys to gel together, it took a while. There were injuries. There were concerns if it would ever work. And for about 30 games now, it's worked pretty darn well as they have really meshed well in Dallas.
Yeah, basically since Kyrie has come back from his injury, it's been a scary sight for the NBA. And now that they've finally figured out how to play off each other, you see Luka playing off ball a little bit more often as well. And the thing I like most about this duo is that Kyrie is the guy that you're going to in the fourth quarter, mainly. He's the guy that you're looking to get that last shot to execute that final play to get the Mavericks the win. Not saying Luka can't do it because we've seen him do it before, but both of these guys can shoulder the load any given night, and I think that's the mark of a great duo. And I'm not sure that there is a better one in the NBA, and I don't know if any team in the Western Conference can stack up with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, you think about a couple of those Clippers series before between Dallas and LA. What would happen in a lot of those games? Well, Luka's usage rate was so high that he would get into the fourth quarter, and yeah, he still had some big fourth quarters, especially in that Game 7 where he went off. But, like, a lot of times he's just out of gas because every time he would check out, the Clippers were going to run, so they'd have to check him right back in. Now you can stagger minutes a little more. You don't have to run primarily through Luka throughout the course of the game. You can run through Kyrie at times, and you can and probably should a lot of the time in the fourth quarter because he's a proven fourth quarter assassin. They really complement each other in that way. They run a lot of that 2-man screen game, too, where Luka screens Kyrie's man and vice versa, which I think is very dangerous.
It's unstoppable, really, when you have Luka as a screener because you have to basically pick which one you're going to leave open, and it's unstoppable.
And he's big enough to be a quality screener, too.
No doubt.
6'7", 230. So, it's been fun. I did not think they would play. Even if – I'll put it this way, Coop. I thought this could work when they made the trade. Yep. But even we all had doubts for obvious reasons. Kyrie's flakiness in the past, injury history. You don't know what the hell he's going to do off the court. And by the way, he's been great in all
model citizen.
Good for him. But we also did question the on-court fit. And I think rightfully so because both a lot of the time do like having the ball in their hand, all that stuff. And for them to make it work and do whatever it takes to win, and I think that's been the goal here. And you see them a couple of games ago I think it was after the Rockets game when they're hugging at the end of that one in overtime. Like, you can tell they've bonded off the court as well. It's been better than I could have ever imagined. And look, it's still early on. This is only, they've only been together for just over a year, but man, I mean, you're going to be hard pressed to find a better duo in the NBA right now.
Yeah, let us know in the comment section where you guys rank Luka and Kyrie among NBA duos. Is it number 1?
I mean, look, for the playoffs, if you're power ranking, maybe you give Jokic and Murray the edge based on what they did last year, but during this season, it hasn't been as good.
Tatum and Brown, I know that's a great one. Embiid and Maxey. I mean, I think Luka and Kyrie are right up there with the best duos of the NBA.
Yeah, I think in terms of just lethalness, too, offensively, no duo has more upside in terms of what they can provide offensively in the NBA. Number 2, the deadline acquisitions. I think most title teams, Coop, typically make a notable move at the trade deadline to kind of get into that next tier, and I think Dallas absolutely did that by adding Daniel Gafford and P.J. Washington. Both have played tremendous roles. Both have become starters. Washington has been all along. Gafford, but got into that role
Yep.
after initially being kind of the heavy backup behind Derek Lively, and he didn't even get in there because Lively struggled or anything like that. It's just
They just needed a spark.
This team played better with him in there, and they're both two of your top probably 4 players now after Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah, these guys are going to be very important to what the Mavericks do. Obviously, Daniel Gafford gave the Mavs the much-needed center depth because behind him it was Dwight Powell, it was Maxi Kleber. Now you have Daniel Gafford, and hopefully Derek Lively, when he's healthy, will be able to fill that role as well. And you have 48 minutes of good center play. Love what I've seen from Gafford, and obviously Washington. He's turned into this team's best defender, and he's been knocking down shots as of late. So I don't think you can ask more than what you've got from these guys. And they really have transformed the Mavs season, because before these guys were on the team, it was looking bleak there for a while, for sure.
Gafford cleans up around the rim. He plays defense. Washington's been a stellar defender. He's playing better offensively. It's been impressive what they've been able to do. Give Nico Harrison a lot of credit for making those 2
No
moves.
question.
Hit the subscribe button. We'll have you covered throughout the 2024 NBA playoffs, game by game coverage. We'll do some watch parties as well. It's going to be fun. Subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/MavsTV. And I think with those acquisitions has also just turned into this currently is a top 10 defensive team in the NBA. I know the season-long metrics won't tell you that, but if you just measure after the All-Star break, I think they're 7th in defensive efficiency.
Since the trade deadline, yes.
Since the trade deadline. They're 7th in defensive rating. I mean, that's going to play. You got to be a top 10 defensive unit in the NBA to win a championship, and Dallas is firmly inside that number, at least how they're playing right now.
Yeah, the intensity on the defensive end is what I'd love to see, and that starts with your guys in P.J. Washington and Derrick Jones. You obviously get something from Gafford on the rebounding end, and then when Luka is engaged in the game and he's playing well on the defensive end, this team's going to be hard to beat, man. I mean, if they've given up, I believe it's less than 100 points in, I think, like 13 of their last 18 or something like that. So they're doing a really good job on that end.
Like, even in games where they have given up points, like obviously Houston kind of torched them, let's be honest. But when they had to get stops, they got some, especially in overtime. And I think a lot of it is that intensity. Luka and Kyrie, I think them just giving that effort sets the tone for their better defenders to really lock in. And I think that goes a long way. When your leaders give effort on that side,
you go as they go.
It's contagious. There's no question. And then you've got role players with defined roles, and they're contributing. I mean, we've obviously talked about Gafford and Washington. Derrick Jones and Dante Exum Coop have just been absolutely terrific for what you thought they were going to be.
No question.
By bringing them in here. We'll see what it looks like with Josh Green. He's missed some time. When he was before this injury, he was playing a key role as well. The only guy that's underperforming really is Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, he's the one that is the wild card right now, and you know that he can bring it in the playoffs because he's done it before. Exactly. We haven't seen it in a couple of months now from Hardaway, but maybe he gets it going in the postseason. And all of a sudden, this Mavericks rotation in the playoffs could be 10 deep. This is kind of what I envision it as right now. You have that starting 5, and then coming off the bench, you have Exum, Lively. I think Kleber's still going to play a little bit in the playoffs. And then you have Hardaway and Green, and that's kind of where the question marks come in. How much does Green play coming back off that sprained ankle, and how much does Hardaway play if he gives you enough shooting off that bench?
Yeah, I mean, it could be game by game. It could be play the hot hand. Like if Tim has it going, he's obviously going to play more. If he doesn't, you're probably going to opt to go Green a little more with his defense. Exum, especially, I'll say this, Exum will be the first guard off the bench throughout the playoffs.
He will be.
Unless he just completely hits a wall offensively, which we kind of have been waiting for that, and it just hasn't happened. He's been efficient all year. This team is deep. They're top-heavy as well. When you have 2 big-time players and you're deep, that is the recipe for success, Coop. That is how you win in April, May, and June. And I think, I've kind of gone to this theory for a couple of years now. I think the Big 3 era is dead.
Agreed.
I think it's you have your 2 guys, and then you teeter out salaries based beyond that. You go to the second-tier players, the $18 to $22 million per year guys, and then you got to find a couple diamonds in the rough. Dante Exum,
Derrick Jones Jr.
Like, you get a couple of the. If you have a rookie that contributes, that's huge because they're not making a lot. Derek Lively, that's why going back to the draft, Coop, when all those rumors of a trade for Capella, don't use that pick, I was really I understood that and I wouldn't have been against it at the time, but I was really man, if you can get a guy in here as a rookie that's going to be cheap and you can develop,
invaluable.
It's just huge for roster building because, A, down the road, you want to have homegrown talent, and B, if they can play as rookie and second-year players, which Derek Lively's proven, hopefully Omax next year is one of those guys, it helps you build your roster so much better because they don't cost that much money. So it's been fun. It's all come together. I don't think any of us expected guys like Derrick Jones and Dante Exum and all these other pieces to do what they've done, but they have, and unless it changes, they're going to be tough to beat, man, especially with the way Luka and Kyrie are playing right now.
Yeah, let us know down in the comments how far you think the Mavericks will make it this year. I know this is going to sound biased. I'm not sure I'm picking them against anybody in the playoffs.
You mean picking anybody against them?
Anybody against them, yeah. I think I'm picking the Mavs in every series. I'm not saying they're going to win the title, but give me our guys against anybody. Mavs versus everyone.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll put it this way. I'm not going to make an official prediction just yet. There will not be a series they play in that they don't have at least a very good shot. Like, even Denver.
Crazy to say.
Even the Celtics, if they make the final, like, they can play with all of these teams. And right now, as we're filming this in the middle of the week, it could go back and forth between Denver, Minnesota, OKC for the 1 seed. If they could avoid Denver in round 2, I mean, I'm not picking against them in the first 2 rounds. Denver's going to be tough. There's no question about it.
They're the biggest threat.
Minnesota, OKC, the Clippers, I'm picking them to beat all those teams.
Yeah, and who knows what Kawhi Leonard's status is going to be for the Clippers as well going forward. I really do believe the Mavs are one of the 2 favorites to win the Western Conference, and it is awesome.
It's crazy to say. Jeffrey Cooperstein, Harrison Graham, more coverage to come. Go Mavs, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you soon.